It's pretty exciting, and I think the part that's exciting is, one, the obvious what you said. I mean, the talent that's out there is remarkable. Even the fresh crop from this most recent draft, but it's the vibe off the ice that's just as impressive. And you know, and I know everybody that spoke in front of a microphone, you know, second half of last year talked about the culture and the environment and how it's just changed so much and for the better. And that's, I mean, it's carried over, and I think it's just going to continue to build momentum, and everybody can feel it, and it's really exciting.
Rusek missed a big chunk of the season with that injury. He came and had a really impressive playoffs. What were your impressions, you know, of his play and the way that he was able to improve?
I mean, he came from a full ACL reconstruction, and usually it takes a year for you to get back to 100%. And I think it's a testament to how hard he worked, how hard he wanted to come back and prove himself. We had no idea what we were getting, to be honest. You know, Apps had seen some tape on him and really liked him. But we, you know, all we could do was just prep him with video. You know, just to do what we could with video to try and prepare him. But then when he stepped in, he made guys' jaws drop on a daily basis in practice, you know, with his passing ability and his vision. And I think that's why he endeared himself so quickly to the guys. He fit right in, and he took any role. He played fourth line, wasn't getting a lot of responsibility because we just didn't know what we had yet, you know. And then slowly but surely, and then even into the playoffs, he was earning power play time and some special opportunities.
I know you're at the draft. Did it excite you when you saw 3 first-round centermen joining the organization?
Well, when you see a team pick 3 first-round centermen, that means at least 2 of them might be going to the wing at some point in their career. But you know, I think it's exciting. I mean, they said it. They picked the best player available, and it's unfortunate we don't get to see Matthew on the ice this week. But the other 2 have been incredibly impressive. I think Noah, his ability to move around the ice and his strength on the puck is incredible. And obviously, you know, Kulik, I think, has just edged JJ out in the amount of oohs and ahs he's created in the stands with his scoring ability. So, you know, to see these kids come in at 18, it's impressive. I mean, back when I did it, we didn't go on the ice. It was just an orientation. We got to see the city of Vancouver. So this is exciting for these kids.
Was it think back when you were a centerman and maybe had to play some wing? Is that a difficult transition?
No, what wasn't for me, because I didn't become a centerman until halfway through my draft year in Ottawa. So I was a winger my entire life, and I think some of these guys have had that have that versatility in their game. Look, I mean, there's a lot of great young hockey players here, and if some of them want to make it to the National Hockey League, some of them are going to have to show some versatility at some point throughout their journey to play a different position.
As far as your ego is just what stands out? Obviously, there's this shot.
Well, the shot's the obvious thing. I mean, it jumps out at you, but it's his poise as an 18-year-old on the ice and in this environment on and off the ice. I mean, he's incredibly mature. You know, I think it's been good for him to have Rusek and Peca around, and even Konechny. I mean, we call them the Czech Mafia. They're tight, but we're able to communicate with them a little bit. So I think he's able to enjoy this experience more because he's got guys around that he can not just speak Czech with, but also help get messages across.
What was it like for you to coach JJ and Jack through those rookie seasons that they had?
I mean, as a coach, it's the most fun you could ever expect, especially, you know, being in Rochester where we're trying to develop these guys for the Buffalo Sabres. It was fun. I mean, Jack had that experience in Rochester a little bit the year before, so he was a little bit more understanding to some of the stuff that was being taught and expected of him. JJ took a while. You know, JJ, I think, only had 3 goals through his first 20, 25 games or so. Started to understand the things that we were trying to teach him as a staff, and you know, next thing you know, I think he ended up with maybe 4 or 5 or 6 hat tricks, you know, to the end of the season. So he's an impressive young man. I still view him as a unicorn. I can't find anybody I've ever played with or against, even today's game, that resembles the type of player he can become. So I'm excited to see both of them play next year.
One of the biggest things that you're trying to teach, because we can see here in training camp the talent of that, and he scored some goals at training camp. So dash the fans now, why is he going to Rochester?
Yeah.
What are the things when you get him from Rochester, a raw kid like that has that kind of talent? What are the things that you need to teach him to make him a pro?
Well, I mean, the number one thing with a lot of young guys, and it's not just with JJ, is it's play without the puck. You know, and it's not just on defense, it's on offense. You know, finding holes, getting into space, supporting the puck. And the thing that I spent the most time with him with is just having him understand how much he can impact a game without scoring or without getting on the score sheet. He's incredibly fast, powerful, instinctual. He became one of our best penalty killers by the end of the season. I think at the start of the season, we never expected him to ever be able to kill penalties. But that's how far he grew in his understanding of how impactful he can be without the puck and without scoring. And I think, when you try and pass that message along, it's, look, you're going to be in the National Hockey League. You might have to play on the third line, and you might not be on the power play. And we talked about this, and Donnie's talked about this in some of the chats we've had. How are you going to impact your team? How are you going to help your team win hockey games? How are you going to stay in the lineup? And I think as time went on, they slowly started understanding. And it was a great team effort by our staff with all of our young guys, but with JJ in particular. There was a lot of video, a lot of positive video with them and showing them, like even in games early in the season, he'd be upset, he'd be frustrated. But then you show him things that he did that had nothing to do with us scoring a goal, but that helped prevent a goal or helped us win a hockey game. And I think as time went on, he kind of grew and matured and understood those things a lot more.
Michael, you've won obviously a lot. This has been a long 11 years. How significant in your mind was March, April here, March, April in Rochester as far as
It's big. It's the start of something, right? We've kind of reignited the fire, and that's a difficult process to get going, especially mirroring, like you said, Buffalo and Rochester together. But the difficult part is maintaining it now and continuing to build upon it. And I think we've got the staff in both organizations that are committed to doing that. And obviously Jerry Fortin and his staff have done a tremendous job and continuing to stack the cupboards for us to work with. And hopefully we can just continue to grow it.
How do you help the mentality on face-offs? What was last in the league? And I know there's some physical and there's skill involved, but it's a mentality. How do you help coach that mentality?
Well, when I do it, it truly does start with a mindset. You've got to help guys identify what type of face-off person they are, whether they're just a one-move person because they're strong and they can get away with it, or if you got to be a guy that's got to, get some pre-scouting work in and understand what the other guy's going to do and manipulate what he does. And it takes a lot of work. It really does. And centerman, I know when Krebsy came down and guys came down or guys went up, they're working at it a lot. And it takes time, but you got to be committed to getting better at it. And in Rochester, we had a great group that won a lot of face-offs. At times I think we had two centermen in the lineup, and they were both East Coast League guys. So our numbers dropped a little bit, but for the most part, we had centermen that were just really committed and wanted to drop pucks every day and wanted input every day, and so it worked out well.
How have you seen Peca kind of continue to develop as being kind of a lower end draft pick from last year?
Watching him out here, you think he went in the top 3 rounds, to be honest with you. The kid's impressive. He's quiet, he's unassuming, but he's a real hockey player. He does everything right on the ice. He can play 200 feet. The development guys, when they come into Rochester, all the time, the first guy they talk about is Kozaks. And, he hasn't disappointed. I've been very impressed with him and looking forward to getting to know him a lot more.
Call JJ the unicorn. Are there subtleties that make him unique?
There is, and the scary part too, and I'll answer that, is he has no idea how good he can be yet, and which is scary. It's the blend of the power and speed and the skill set with his hands and his shot and his ability to play in a physical game. Like, he can play in any environment and he can dominate in any environment. And it's just a matter of sticking with it and being patient early in his journey, because it's going to be easy to get frustrated. A lot of guys, 98% of guys that start their NHL career are going to face some adversity and some challenges. And so it'll be important for him to get through that. But I think, as evidence this year, Donnie's got the right mindset and approach to allow these guys to get comfortable and settle in and grow as young men.
What happened with R2? It seemed like halfway through the year, did he finally catch on to the North American game, what he needed to do? Was that part of it? Or what got him going the way he got going?
Hard to tell. I think part of it is there was frustration. I think he wanted to be in Buffalo. And that's understandable. Everybody wants to be, and I think it just took him some time to realize, that he's a good hockey player, and so our environment in Rochester was very special. And I think the one thing he got from that was he rediscovered his love for the game to start with, and not that he had lost it completely, but he just coming to the rink every day, all of a sudden he's starting to smile on a regular basis, and you know, in his exit interview, it was an amazing comment. I mean, he had a great second half of the year. In playoffs, he was unbelievable. He just simply said every time he touched the puck, he thought he could do anything, which is an amazing comment from a professional hockey player. So it was great to see him do that. He was a big part of our team and our culture on and off the ice, so it was great to see R2 have that success.
What have you seen from the goalies this week?
Been impressed. You know, I mean, you know, I obviously had seen some tape on both of them. Seamus Kodak is in Rochester quite a bit, and I'm always peeking over his shoulder at all the video he's looking at the goalies. And it was great to see them in here this week and get to know them a little bit. They're both great young men, but even, you know, the young Finn that was drafted this year has been very impressive. You know, fortunately, he's dealing with a little bit of an injury, so didn't get to see him today. But even the invites, I mean, the goaltending across the board has been really good, and which is good because there's obviously a lot of kids that can score goals. So it's good to have good goaltending.
What opportunity does a camp like this offer Declan?
Yeah, I mean, any time you can get yourself in front of an NHL staff, professional hockey league staff, that's only going to help you. Because now your name gets put on a board, and maybe you're in for consideration for a job down the road. So I don't know how those guys run that entire process, but I think as a talented young hockey player, anytime you can get in an environment like this in front of those people, it's a bonus for sure.
What have you learned about Aaron?
Last one.
Being around him.
Who's that?
Aaron Hugland being around him.
Aaron Hugland, I had no idea who he was coming to this camp, and to be honest, when I saw him on day one, he represented himself on the ice, his skill set on the ice, his habits on the ice. I would have thought he was 27 years old. He's the kind of guy that if you're on his team, you want to play with him because he's just a solid hockey player. He doesn't make mistakes. He gets pucks back. He knows where to put pucks. He works hard. He's an impressive hockey player. And that's what's exciting. You know, when we're talking, first question about camps like this is you get to see kids you have no idea who they are. And the obvious ones from the draft that I met in Montreal are obvious. They're first-round picks, but a guy like that, you have no idea who he is. And I'm like, you'd think that this guy played in the NHL already. He's so poised and his game is so complete. So it's exciting.